Good evening. It is Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, and welcome to the Town of Carmel Town Board. This is a work session. I call this meeting to order. And before we rise for the pledge, I just want to take a moment. Two of our brave volunteers have passed away this week, Chief Ed Scott and Captain Bill Keating. I could go on about the good times and the memories I have of the two men, but really it's not a eulogy. I just want everyone to know that on behalf of the Carmel Town Board and the Town of Carmel, our condolences to Erin and the Scotts and to Bill Keating's family. They will be missed. So if everyone would please rise and face the flag, Councilman Barankowski will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We ask to please remain standing for a moment of silence for the men and women in uniform serving our country across the world, many of them in very dangerous places. And we also ask for an additional prayers and thoughts and a moment of silence for the victims of the terrorist attack in Israel this week. Thank you.
Thank you. If either of you would like to make any comments? No? Okay. The town board met in executive session. We interviewed a person for one of the vacancies on our many boards. I ask the town board members to please review the minutes from September 20th, 2023. Our town clerk, Ann Spofford, had sent them all to you. First up is Mary Ann Maxwell, our comptroller. Consider request to accept the year-end 2022 LoSAP Length of Service Award Program annual reports for Carmel Fire Protection Districts 1 and 2 and the Carmel Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Mary Ann?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So last week, we received the annual reports for the Length of Service Award programs for Carmel Fire Protection District Number 1, Carmel Fire Protection District Number 2, and Carmel Ambulance. So I have the big binder upstairs in my office if anybody wants to look at the full report, but these folders were put together by PenFlex for your review. So I'm just going to go over some of the highlights of each report. In Carmel Fire Protection District Number 1, which is Mahopac Falls, the fourth paragraph down shows the trust fund investment return for 2022 was a negative 14.9%. So that we did take a loss on the investments in the LoSAP investment program. As you know, many investments did take a loss last year in 2022. So therefore, the funded ratio went down to 96% from 112%. So in January 1st of 2022, the funded ratio of the program was 112%. So it did go down to 96%. So it's still a good funded ratio. I like to keep that at approximately 100%. The required contribution for 2023 is $131,614, which is the second paragraph of this annual report. We are contributing $270,000. We always have contributed more than what is required, just to keep that funded ratio high, up to near 100% in case there is years of, investment losses. So if you look at the fact sheet, you can see the funded ratio in the last 5 years. Back in 2019 was 77%. In 2020 was 93%, then went to 100%, 112, and down to 96. So again, I'm requesting that we contribute $270,000. Last year we contributed $290,000, so it is lower than what we contributed last year, but I think it's still a good contribution to that program to keep it at a funded a good funded ratio.
Marion, this is included in the proposed budget?
Correct, yes.
That's
This is
270?
included in the '23 budget, and then in the '24 budget, we budgeted $260,000. Now, we did have to lower that because we are now having to budget for the ambulance coverage in both Mahopac and Mahopac Falls. So the LoSAP program, we are not able to contribute as much as we were in the past years, but I still think that it's enough to keep that funded ratio high, in the close to 100%. So in the Mahopac Fire District, which is Carmel Fire Protection District number 2, also the investment return took a loss of a negative 14.9%. That funded ratio is 103%, down from 120. So it's still, again, near that 100% benchmark. We're contributing $265,000 to this program, to this investment fund. The funded ratio for the Mahopac was 82% in 2019, 98% in 2020, went up to 104, and then 120, and now it's down to 103. So I think continuing this more than required contribution in order to keep that funded ratio, high up there. Because I'm not sure what the fund is where we're gonna end in 2023 with the investments. They're better than they were last year, but not a profit like they have been in the past. And then Carmel Ambulance, this funded ratio is at 110%, so we are just contributing the necessary required amount of $17,582. So we don't contribute more than required in the Carmel Ambulance. We basically send them and these are all done by PenFlex. These reports are done by PenFlex. So they look at what is submitted. You guys have seen the points that are submitted by the volunteers. That's what's basically submitted to PenFlex, and then PenFlex does this annual report based on what is submitted by the fire department and signed off on by you. So I'm just asking for the board to accept this annual report, and then we can send those required contributions. Okay,
No question. Good.
good?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Marion.
So the second item is our police chief, Anthony Hoffman. Consider request authorize purchase and installation of emergency equipment for 2023 Dodge Durango pursuit vehicles from RFC Emergency Lighting Contract 2324 RFP number 1, Village of Briarcliff Manor. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. Thank you for having me here this evening. This is the first of two items I have before you, the first being the request to upfit the 2 new Dodge Durango pursuit vehicles that we recently purchased. They are en route from, the delivery is being arranged from the dealer in New Jersey, and we have a quote from RFC Emergency Lighting of Briarcliff Manor. That upfitter has serviced our past 5 vehicles. We're very happy with his service. He has recently moved into town, so he's a town resident, so there's also that aspect to it. We like to keep things local. Thankfully, recently he was able to get a contract with the Village of Briarcliff Manor for emergency vehicle upfit services, and we'd like to piggyback off of that. It fits into our procurement policy. So I would recommend that the town board, passes a resolution in an amount not to exceed $29,600 for both vehicles. This is going to be one of the marked vehicles and one of the unmarked vehicles. If you've seen the new marked vehicle we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the lighting system. It actually, when the vehicle's off to the side of the road, on a vehicle stop or whatever, the lights actually dim, so it's less of a distraction to drivers. The officers like it better. It's not blinding them at scenes, so these new lighting systems that RFC is installing, we're getting a lot of great feedback on that, so that's what we'd like to go with. So as a result, I'd ask for a resolution in the amount not to exceed $29,600 for the two vehicle upfits. Thank you.
Excellent. And they're having all their, they've got the equipment.
Yes.
This isn't like before where you were having,
No, well, the equipment, the lead times are actually decreased a lot, so hopefully the turnaround will be we'll have them on the road before the end of the year.
great.
So I'm just looking, because one is less, so the lesser one is for the unmarked.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's less equipment in the unmarked vehicle. The marked vehicle has a computer mount, a printer, a prisoner cage in the back, so that's why the cost goes up on that.
Light bar.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, so then your second and our third item is consider request to authorize purchase and installation of equipment for the 2022 Chevrolet Tahoe Police Pursuit Vehicle. Again, Briarcliff Manor's.
Yes, exactly. A similar setup. The Tahoe was a little bit longer in coming. We've finally received it after a year and a half. It is designated for our K-9 unit, as the Ford Explorer that we currently have is approaching 130,000 miles. So we'd like to get rolling on that. We'd also like to use RFC emergency lighting of Briarcliff Manor and utilize that contract that they have with the Village of Briarcliff Manor that we would be eligible to piggyback off of. And for this one vehicle, the Tahoe, I would request a resolution in an amount not to exceed $23,000 for RFC emergency lighting to perform to buy the equipment and perform the upfit. The amount of $23,000 for the one vehicle is more than the two, the marked vehicle, because of all the K-9 equipment, the kennel, the automatic door that opens up so petrol can, come out at the, hit of a button when Officer DeSanto hits his button, and the other required equipment.
Yeah, the thing so he doesn't get too hot.
Yes.
No? Nobody has questions?
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just if I could, I just wanted to thank Councilman Baranowski, Councilman Shannon for showing up at our Coffee with the Cop event last week. It was very well received. We got a lot of great feedback, a lot of requests for ride-alongs, and we hope to have another one soon. So,
Great.
thank you, gentlemen, for that.
Great, Tom, thank you.
Thank you for hosting it.
Of course. Have a good night. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you, Chief. See you tomorrow. The fourth item is Richard Franzetti, P.E., Town Engineer. Consider request to acknowledge emergency repairs and services, Carmel Water District Number 6, Carmel Water District Number 4, and Carmel Sewer District Number 4. Rich?
Good evening, Supervisor, Town Board, how are you?
Good?
As Supervisor mentioned, this is for emergency repair services. In Carmel Water District 6, there was a well 1 pump replacement on September 8th. B&J notified us, the engineering, that after a recent storm, the pump for well 1 at Tomahawk Creek failed. There's an invoice in the amount of $12,960.40 for the replacement of the well pump. It has been submitted to insurance for reimbursement. In Carmel Water District 4, valve and flushing hydrant replacement. During a water main break in August, B&J, the operators, notified the engineering department there was a broken and an inoperable flushing hydrant in the district. Attached is an invoice in the amount of $14,842.70 for the replacement of the valve and flushing hydrant. It was a broken valve and an inoperable valve, and the flushing hydrant was also not working. So the valve is what happened. They weren't able to isolate the system. That's why they needed to get the valve fixed in there, in Water 4. Sewer District 4, pump failure at Lakeshore Pump Station on September 28th. Infomark, the operators, notified the engineering department that one of the 2 pumps at Lakeshore Pump Station had failed. Due to the critical nature of this pump station, Infomark was directed to order the replacement immediately. There's an invoice in the amount of $22,259 to purchase and install this equipment.
Rich, just a question on this second one, Carmel District 4.
Yes.
Part of that was due to an inoperable flushing hydrant. Are those the hydrants that they go and inspect all the time?
No, the flushing hydrants are different. So we do the
Okay.
inspections on the regular ones that the fire department will use or
Right.
utilize. These are just smaller units. They kind of almost are like a hose bib, but they're not. If you go to the Mahopac Gardens in front of Crossroads, there's kind of a flushing hydrant in there. It's not really a flushing hydrant, but that's what they look like. So they're about yay high. They're not red. They're not colored anything. They're not
Okay.
like the regular hydrants you know. They are purely there to drain water out of the system at those areas that need it the most. So it's not like a regular hydrant where you need to have them X amount of feet within a water system.
All right. Should there be like a yearly maintenance or look at it to see if there's any issues with them? Or it really has not come up as being a problem?
It normally isn't. They do go and do, when Joe and B&J went in for Mark, when they do the flushing, it was there, they use those to flush the system. So that is a flushing hydrant used on a regular flushing basis. It's not inspected the same way that you inspect the ones that you see, right, the regular red hydrants that fire departments will use. But they are used, and they're used in flushing. This so happened, they noticed that there was more of a leak. It was an inoperable valve and a leaking flushing valve, a hydrant. That's what was going on at that particular
Okay.
location. But it was an inoperable valve that really caused the
That
grief
caused
because they
it.
couldn't isolate the system, and they had to turn off more homes in order to make the repair they needed to
Yeah.
do, and that's not the way we want to operate.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
No problem.
So next up is request considered to authorize a change order number 1 to contract C269 for Carmel Water District Number 9 building for $2,097.80. Rich?
So as the board may be aware, we referenced project was awarded, which is Carmel Water Building 9, was awarded to TAM Enterprises. During construction, the framing was found to have deteriorated since the initial performed inspection, and during design, and it was determined to be needing a replacement. The contractor requested compensation for the additional labor and materials. The board should note that in exchange for this time extension, which is the next thing being brought up, the contractor offered to reduce the original framing by half, which is the amount that you see of $2,097. They are requesting a 75-day calendar time extension to account for a delay from their door supplier. Excuse me. So right now, the entire building is up. There is, they are waiting for the actual door that was spec'd to be delivered. So we recommend that the board authorize the work for the change order attached. The proposed contract completion date would be December 15th, 2023, and there are sufficient funds in the capital budget for this expense.
Rich, why would the frame have deteriorated in that quick a time?
It's from when the inspection occurred, not from when the original guys went out there. It just, the roof was that bad, Frank, that it was really, part of it, it was really, when you're looking at the framing, it was one side of the framing that had gotten waterlogged and deteriorated to where you couldn't just rebuild over it. We utilized as much as we could on the building so as not to have the cost go up. So it just got worse over time. And there was only, I think, one or two sections that needed it. It wasn't the entire framing that was there.
And when was that initial inspection performed? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can get you back. It was when they did the design, so it was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago. I'd have to double check, but I can make a
Okay.
note and get back to the board on that.
So,
Because I just want to make sure that they didn't miss it back then, and now coming to us that, oh, now it's bad.
I'll
You know.
double check that when the date was, but it was a while back that they went and did that inspection, because then they went and did the design. We put it out to bid. We threw the bids out because we only had one. We didn't have the funds at the time, and then we rebid it. So it's been a couple of years since we actually did the initial inspection, so the design didn't change, but we ended up getting additional funding, and then we're able to put it back out to get the right funding in there.
So when we put it back out, did they go back out and do then another inspection? Do you know?
It wasn't necessary. The design was already done. There was no need to do it. That's my take on it, but I will verify that for the board.
Yeah, because I just want to make sure, like, that it wasn't missed.
Right, I'll let you know the dates, but no, they would not have gone back out because there was no need to. They did the design. It was on us. We said no, meaning the town said, no, we're going to reject those bids. We didn't have the funding for it. And then we had to get the funding back in place, so that just delayed it.
Right, but what my thing is how do we know that that it actually did deteriorate in those year or year and a half or 2 years instead of them just missing it?
I will go back to their original engineering report. I'll let the board know what that
Okay.
answer is. I don't know that off the top of my head. I apologize.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
But, so Rich, in 2 or 3 years, would it deteriorate again?
No, because the roof has not been repaired. Again, the roof had major holes in it, and it was only in the area that we had issues. So it wasn't the entire frame. We reused most of the material in there. It was just one area that had gotten water damaged over the past couple of years that made it worse. It was just beyond where you can reuse it again. But they reused most of the framing
What
in
kind of
there.
material was the frame made of?
Wood?
Like pressure-treated wood?
No, probably not. Typical framing that you would use inside a building, because it would be covered. But I'd have to double check. I don't know, recall that off the top of my head. I will verify that for you.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem.
So number 6 on the agenda is change order number 5 for townwide water tank rehabilitation and installation for water districts 2, 3, 8, and 14.
So the board is aware this project was awarded to Arrow Construction. This is a no-cost change order for a time extension. It was resulting from high water usage during the summer and issues that have occurred with the new variable frequency drives that have been put in place, and they're preventing us from being able to shut the crossroad tank from being able to take out of service to maintain it. We are in process of trying to figure out how to handle the VFD. That's not what I'm here to discuss, but that has been ongoing, so we're asking for this to be extended till when we can get that resolved. The problem is, we're not going to be able to do the work in the winter. We're hitting the wall of, at a point in time, where you can't close the tank down, do the work, and have the atmosphere, because once you start hitting the cold weather, you're going to worry about freezing in areas where you shouldn't have it. So that's why we've asked this to be moved to on or before July 30th of 2024. The intent is to start it back up. If we can't get it done before the snow flies this year, we'd get it done in the spring of next year.
That's what I wanted to ask you. A concern of mine is that if we extend it through the summer of next year, what is to stop them from doing it again in the summertime? And if it's hot like it was this summer, the water usage is gonna be up. Can we say that it could be done by like the springtime, or verify that they're gonna schedule us in the springtime, not the summertime?
The driver here is this variable frequency drive that was tripping out because of high usage and hot weather that occurred over the summer.
Right.
So it's an issue we've been dealing with for the past, 2.5 months.
Right.
Trying to figure it out. So we would have been able to take it out of service, except the darn thing keeps tripping. We think it's a manufacturer's flaw, right? And we need a new VFD, and I think that's where we're going with this, where we'll get the correct variable frequency drive in. But we need to determine that. So the answer is, it's not the contractor that's stopping this, it's a piece of equipment that's holding us up. Once we resolve that, we'll be able to move it through as soon as possible. So yeah, we'd have it done first thing in the spring. Hopefully we have it resolved by then. That's
By
the
then.
intention.
Okay.
If not, we'll be getting Greg involved on things.
All right, thanks.
Greg loves it.
So number 7 is consider request to award bid for rehabilitation of Lake Mahopac Dam in accordance with the New York State DEC. Rich?
So as the board is aware, in July of 2020, we retained Schnabel Engineering to complete an engineering assessment for the Lake Mahopac Dam in accordance with the order on consent from the New York State DEC that the towns and landowners that comprise the owner of the dam area. The EA report was prepared in accordance with state regs. The objective of the project is to bring Lake Mahopac Dam into compliance with state DEC safety regulations by addressing the recommendations in the 2022 engineering assessment. We solicited proposals from qualified firms to prepare bid documents, which were Schnabel, and the board had previously authorized them to do all that work, to do the bid document specifications, construction administration for the project. Work consists of rehabbing of the Mahopac Dam, including install of a replacement gate an actuator for the operating of the low-level outlet within the principal spillway structure, installation of a platform over the spillway to facilitate safe operation of the gate valve, removal of selected trees on the dam and adjacent to the spillway, removal of vegetation within the spillway, and regular maintenance activities. The rehab is designed to address the listed dam safety operational deficiencies. So on September 22nd, bids were opened by the town clerk. Bid specifications were provided to 15 contractors. 4 responded. The recommendation to award as prepared by Schnabel is provided as an attachment to this. Saron Construction was the lowest bidder at $85,365. However, their bid package did not include the required breakdown of bid items as specified on the bid form. As a result, the bid cannot be evaluated, and Saron was deemed an unresponsive bidder and disqualified. Therefore, the lowest responsive bidder was Commercial Cleaning Services, or CSS, $192,850. Board should note that the engineering estimate for this work was about $173,170, with a range between $156,000 and $199,800. The evaluated low base bid of $192,850 was within 11% of the engineer's estimate. We also, this past June, we issued debt for $300,000 authorized for this project. So based on the evaluation of the bids, experience of the bidder, and project references, we recommend that the contract be awarded to CSS as the lowest responsible bidder for the project.
Sorry, just another question.
Go right ahead.
So I saw in Schnabel's engineering report that CSS provided clarification to the responses on the bidder's qualification statement, confirming their intended response were no to questions 3 and 4, and none to questions 5 and 5, rather than NA, which is initially provided for these questions. So, like on their bid, it does say NA, 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 and I guess he wants, the firm wants no, no, and none.
Correct.
So can they do that? Because, not that I don't trust many people, NA is still on our contract. So can they just send back over no, no, and none?
That would be,
Or
that's a
Greg?
great question.
No, we wouldn't modify any of the bid submissions for one contractor. If it's not applicable, it's not applicable.
So not applicable does mean like no?
It means, yeah, it means-
Okay.
It means that the subject matter of the question doesn't apply.
Doesn't apply. All right, I
So
just
they
want to
just
make
got
sure that we're-
clarification for that. That's all they were
Okay.
asking for.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask any submitting bidder to modify any of their submissions. You're gonna open the door for everybody to do that, so.
To do, okay. I just want to make sure NA means like no or none.
Well, that was the clarification that they got from them, right? That's why they asked for the clarification.
Okay.
So, Rich, when this originally
Perfect.
came up, for me anyway, when I first came on the board, right, this is when this, I know I peppered you with 1,000 questions on this thing, but.
We
at
sat
end
in
of
the
day-
meeting in the back room at one point in time.
Don't remember. But we're mandated to do this,
Yes, sir.
because the state labeled this structure a dam, whatever criteria they use.
It is a dam. It has been a dam. So, yes.
I mean,
They're-
not
they're-
like Croton Falls, but
No,
they think
it
it's
is
a
not
dam.
like Croton
No,
Falls.
it's an earthen
Okay.
dam.
But they had it classified
But they-
exactly the
It is
same way.
classified as
Yeah,
a
they
dam.
had it
And we-
classified.
And it's been classed down, but when this came up, and when the consent order was entered into, those two dams had the exact same hazard classification.
Okay, so thank you. So I wasn't crazy.
No.
We're talking about two very different structures, but at the end of the day, we're mandated to do this upgrading.
Correct.
So just tell me, and I'm not an engineer, but when you remove trees from soil in an area, doesn't that make that area more prone to flooding and shifting and,
Yes, except for
Okay,
when they're
thank you.
on dams,
okay,
the root structure creates enough area for water to flow through that it can undermine the dam because of the root structure of the trees. That's why trees are, but per the dam safety code, trees have to be removed off of dams because it's the root structure. So while it would maintain in a normal area, you want the trees to be there because it's going to absorb the water and whatnot. We don't want the trees bringing water in to then undermine the dam. That's what happens. So the root structure will cause you the grief on this.
okay, so is it like any tree within, either on the structure or within, I don't know,
It has to be,
feet,
it's
or-
on, in this case, it's on the embankment, it's on the two trees being removed are on the downstream embankment. We're keeping a couple other trees up there. There's a willow tree that's gonna go, but there's a couple of smaller trees and shrubs that we don't worry about, because the root structure doesn't go that far down. But there's a big, I think it's a sycamore, but I could be wrong, but there's certainly a willow tree and another large tree that's being taken down. And it has to do with the root structure. Willow trees are bad for that area.
Got it, okay.
And just to, so while we were the same as a Class C dam as the New York City DEP ones, during this process, this got lowered to a Class B dam. So that's important. So that changes the dynamics of what you have to do for dam safety analyses, what you have to do. It lowers the requirements, which is why if this was a Class C, this would probably be a larger project than it would be just now for a Class B. I'm just throwing that out there. And the other thing is we operate the gate valve that's over there. Part of this project is to put a platform over there. Right now, we're going on a 18-inch or a 12-inch
And it's
wide
dangerous. Yeah, I can
concrete, and it's dangerous. So whoever, we have highway goes over there and they help out. They sit there, have to straddle it and turn it. The thing is, it's just dangerous. So we're really bringing it up for safety standards for that also, along with getting rid of the vegetation that's there.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for asking that, because we were discussing that, and we had no idea. It seems like you're lessening the ground's capacity to hold, the dirt together. That's what the roots do, but now our engineer has explained to us why that is.
It's still a dam, but it's less of a dam than Croton Falls.
Yes.
It's an earthen dam.
I'm going to ask the board a
Damn.
favor for this particular item tonight. I'm going to ask if you might be able to do a vote on it to accept the results. Part of it is because by October 19th, we have to issue a notice to proceed. So we want to get that process going. It's part of the consent decree. So if we can get a vote on that tonight, I would appreciate that. But that's up to the board to decide. If not, you'd have to do it next Wednesday night, which you would be doing anyway, but that only gives us a day to issue the notice to proceed. And we really would like to get all the paperwork moving forward, contracts and everything out to these folks to do that, but that's up to the board and that's up to
We
supervisor.
can't do another extension?
I guess we could. I mean, right now, we told them we'd make the October 19th deadline, so we're cutting it close. Apologize for that. It had to do with all different schedules with regards to being able to put the bids out, opening the bids up, and as part of it, plus along with, just getting everything done and correct, so.
I have no objection to it.
Yeah.
Try to be done.
No objection.
I will give you the motion. if you want.
Please
But
do.
Go ahead.
If it gets voted tonight, and they're going to issue the notice to proceed by the 19th, that means that I need to have their bonds and insurance like Friday, Monday.
Which is what we're gonna try to get done for tomorrow, so.
All right, so the motion would be to award the bid for contract C-287
Yep.
to Commercial Cleaning Services, Inc., Brewster, New York, at a cost not to exceed $192,850, and subject to receipt and review of performance bonds, labor materials bonds, and insurance by town council. So if somebody wants to adopt that as a motion or resolution, somebody can second it.
So moved.
You can vote it.
Second.
So Lombardi and,
We roll call it.
yep, Lombardi
To have-
and McDonough seconded.
And you designate me as clerk?
Could, Pro
Designate
temp?
Greg is
I have to
clerk.
be.
Yes.
Somebody has to be a
Yep.
clerk.
Do you have
What's
a
our
pen?
voting order? Is it Frank first?
what?
Frank,
Councilman Lombardi?
yes, Councilman
No.
Lombardi.
What is it? Councilman Baranowski?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Councilman?
Aye.
Councilman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Channel?
Yes.
Supervisor Kazari?
Yes.
Motion passes. I'll write it up so the clerk has it, okay?
Resolution passed.
Thank you very much, I do
So
appreciate
you
that.
owe
Good job.
legal counsel, Dave.
And thank you for tolerating our never-ending questions.
No, it's his job.
Yeah, I know.
That is what, that you pay me to be able to answer questions.
It's just, I'm old school, it's gotta make sense.
I
He
just
still-
wanna-
he still
I'm
has
gonna
more.
have a resolution next week for the same vote. But that at least authorizes Rich to let the vendor know that it's been awarded and they can send the bonds and the insurance, and hopefully get a notice to proceed then within the timeframe. All right?
Perfect.
I will be reaching out to them first thing in the morning.
And then getting the bond and the insurance.
We're gonna
Yeah.
get it all to Greg, to him to
Send me the bonds
review.
electronically for review, and then as long as they're informed, as long as we have them in hand, at the time of the contract signing, we'll be good. All right?
Thank you. So number 8 is consider request to authorize purchase of filter bag replacements, Carmel Water District number 2.
Infomark, the operators of Water 2, advise the engineering department that the filter screens at the water treatment plant are outside their serviceable life. There are 3 filters at Water 2, each with 19 filter screens. As the board is aware, filtration at the plant is completed by means of diatomaceous earth. One of the components of the system are these filter bags which cover the suction manifold and allow the DE to build up, thus creating a filter layer. The tearing and separating of the filter bag results in loss of DE and diminished filter capability, which results in diminished water quality. The filter bags do need to be replaced. It's every 2 to 3 years that we do it. Because of the uniqueness and the age of the plant, Infomark is only able to identify one manufacturer, treatment specialist, who can supply the requisite filter bags. We requested and received the cost for installation at $17,035.52. That's for 40 filter bags for the 3 filter units and 16 corner outlet cover filters, and a shipping cost of $310. Infomark indicated that the current screens are 2 years old and have a life of about 2 years. There are sufficient funds in the Water District 2 budget, and we request that the purchase be authorized for the installation of these filter bags.
These aren't the ones that the city reimburses us. That's a different micro filter that they...
Yeah, this is your water treatment. This isn't sewer. I wish we did it. Be nice. No vote on that one. Greg wants you to vote on it.
Greg wants to be clerk again. Yeah.
There was nothing we could do to reduce the price of these every 2 years. Every 2 years, we have to replace them.
The only thing we can do is put in a new plant. That's about all we
It's
can
coming.
do. But yes, it is part of the regular operations and maintenance. They have a useful life. It's
They can't
just-
be cleaned out in between to extend their life.
And that's they rinse them, they do what they have to do, they backwash them. But over time, since they're just a very unique piece of equipment, they rip and tear. And once that starts happening, you're pushing diatomaceous earth in the system,
Right.
you don't have clean water, right? It's not doing its job, so.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Rich, by the way, when we replaced that plant, right, the structure that's there, all of the money that's been invested in there, are there parts there that can be taken out and resold? Is there a market for some of that?
I don't know that answer, but that is part of the assessment that's out there. The answer is most likely yes. You probably will not be able to sell the diatomaceous earth filters because nobody
Got it.
really uses it. It is not a practice that's used much. I think we're one of 2 or 3 in the state. If you speak to the health department, it's like, when are you gonna get rid of it? There were only like 2 or 3 of you left in the state. So, it's an effective means, but, right, so you have that. You may not be able to get rid of those. Maybe a pool manufacturer would take them, because DE is what you use to
It
treat
sounds
a
like a
pool.
pool filter.
But you need a very big pool.
Isn't that what 8 uses?
No, 8th uses dissolved air flotation, completely different process. They use filters in there, but it's not the same. What they do is they put fine air underneath, and it raises with some alum. They put in a chemical in there that helps coagulate whatever in there. The fine air raises it, and you get a sludge on top that skims off, and that they take care of it. They put that down into the sewer. It's a little different treatment process, and then that other water is then taken and treated. So,
Thanks.
and that's what we're proposing as the new plan for Water District 2. It would be dissolved air flotation.
And
That's
then,
the most modern setup?
It is a modern setup. There's a whole bunch of different things you can use. It was the one that was assessed by the engineering firm that was there, and they looked at a whole bunch of different types, membrane filtration, a whole bunch of different things. But this was the most cost-effective for the water quality that we have. A lot of it's driven by, you do pilot tests, you do some kind of bench scale testing, you identify what your water quality is, you apply your treatment to it. one size doesn't fit all. If that was the case, then we'd all be using the same thing, right? So you use what's best for the water you have. In this case, we're pulling from Glenida, relatively clean water. You know, it still is a lake, it still has dissolved solids in it, it has some total solids in it. You treat for that versus pulling out of the ground, which is a little different, has the higher minerals that are in it. Different surface water bodies have different chemicals in it. Thank God Glenida is relatively clean because of where it is, right? How it's used or not used, so to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then number 9 is consider request to purchase submersible mixer pumps for Carmel Sewer District Number 2.
So Infomark, the operators of Sewer 2, advise the engineering department that the first stage activated sludge basin mixers have reached their useful life expectancy, and they're requesting to have the units replaced. There are a total of 6 mixers, which are from the original planned build-out in 1996. 3 of the replacement mixers are unrepairable, and they have asset numbers associated with them, and the remaining 3 will need to be replaced over the next 2 years. Because of the uniqueness and age of Sewer 2, Infomark has only identified one manufacturer fleet who could supply the matching pump for this unit. Infomark requested a quote for one pump at $18,521. There are sufficient funds in the sewer district budget for this work, and we recommend that the board authorize the purchase and install of the mixing pump as outlined by Infomark.
That lasted a long time.
They do.
So they're only going to replace 1 out of the 6.
One this year, we're probably going to come back to you next year. Well, we budgeted for it for next year, so it's in our budget that we pulled together. I think it's either 1 or 2 of them, I forget. So we're going to get 3 and have them done by the end of next year.
Okay,
So
so
yes.
that'll be for the 3 unrepairable ones?
Right.
Okay,
And then they'll be able to use, you know, some of the other ones as, they can repair them, they can send them out. So you'll have 3 good ones, you'll have 3 that were still being used, that can be used and spare parts, and they can
Okay.
cannibalize it, as they call it. So,
okay.
Good. Thank you.
thank you for taking all this time with me this evening, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Put less pages in next time. So,
You're lucky I don't read them all.
our last item is consider additions to the active list for the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department. The new members are Haley Madison Gustin from Carmel, Christopher Flaffenberger from Mahopac, Edward Lewis from Mahopac, and Adam Konworski from Mahopac. Thank you for volunteering, new members of the fire department. Appreciate that.
Volunteers are in dire need these days, and thanks for stepping up and volunteering.
Exactly. So just again to mention the e-waste, it is on our website. We're having an e-waste event on Saturday, October 21st, on Mud Pond Road, the same as our last one. That's going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's for residents of the town of Carmel, which is Mahopac Falls, Carmel.
Refrigerator, no refrigerators, huh?
I don't know. There's a list on the website about,
Air conditioners?
oh, yeah, there's air conditioners. This one even, actually, they'll take batteries, which usually they won't.
Battery.
Usually they won't take batteries. The Hamilton Carmel Civic Association is having their annual Halloween parade and party. That's going to be on Sunday, the 29th, starting at 1 p.m. And I believe this, at Carmel High School, this is on our, no, it's not trunk or treat. There's the parade through. Remember, they go around the building. They start in the parking lot and go around to the, where the old gym is, the cafeteria now. Starting at 1 o'clock. This is on our website also. It's free admission, costume prizes and refreshments. And our Recreation and Parks Department is having our annual Harvest Fest, and vendors are wanted. That's going to be October 29th also at Sycamore Park. That is also on the Recreation website and the town website. And our website's, of course, www.carmelnewyork.org/recreation or our ci.carmel.my.us for the town website. That's all I have. Do you have Columbus Day? No? No, I can say, no, okay. Anybody? So can I get a motion to adjourn?
No motion to go into executive session.
No, no executive session, adjourn. Yep.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.